Car 36, shots fired. The officer's been hit in the head with an asp. I need medical quick. The suspect is down.
We just wanted to give you guys like a little bit of background of who we are before we jumped into, you know, a day that changed our lives forever. We hope that this will give you some insight onto, you know, what it's really like behind the badge. Humanize when these things happen. I think we see these videos a lot on the internet and we kind of forget that there's a family at home. We just thought it'd be a good chance for us to kind of explain from our perspective, like how big that day was and how much it really did change our lives.
I've always been interested in law enforcement and aviation, and I started out in college in the aviation degree, and then we had our first baby. And as soon as I saw her, I knew that I didn't want to have the pilot schedule in life, and so we made a change right there and switched gears and went into law enforcement. And almost 10 years later, here we are. We've got 5 kids, and I still love law enforcement, but things have changed a little bit for us.
Bravo 211, 10-8.
211, 1559. Next, we're going to head to 363 South, 500 East. The suspect came in the office and now won't leave. He's male white in his 30s, all tattoos, jeans, and a light blue t-shirt.
Copy en route.
1600.
It all started on September 28th, 2017. It was the second call of the day when I started looking at my MDT or my computer, and I saw that there was a trespassing call that was holding that was in my area, so I called 10-8 or available and took the call, and immediately I started getting updates on the call that were coming to my computer stating that victims had been calling. It kind of gave me a sense of urgency. I hurried to the call. I remember on my way to the call, distinctly in my mind, the thought, where's your back? I remember checking the computer to see where my back was, and I could see that he was a few blocks out, that he wasn't too close, but he wasn't too far away either. So I arrived at the call and got out of my car. My plan was I was going to make contact with the complainant and just make sure everything was okay, that someone wasn't being hurt right then, because of the calls that were coming in. It made it sound a little bit more urgent than your usual trespass call. So as I walked up to the door, the complainant came to the door, and immediately she said that the suspect was just coming through the parking lot. So as I looked up, I could see a man come walking through the parking lot toward me, and then he kind of started to move toward my car. I had a key fob on my car, so as he's walking to my car, I remember him saying,
come over here for a second.
Let's go for a ride, or let's get in the car.
No. Come over here. Hey, get away from the car.
I immediately locked my car, but when I first saw him, I could tell that something wasn't right with him. I immediately called for my backup to step it up or to hurry up.
211, will you step my backup? Hey, get over here. Hey, come here.
I kept trying to get the guy to come over and talk to me and to stop. I tried a couple different things. Sometimes with the mentally ill folks, being a little bit nicer or a nicer tone can get them to be more calm and to react to your commands. I tried that with this guy.
Hey, sir.
He kept just walking up the street, so I started following, and the whole time I had 100 thoughts going through my head. I'm like, okay, if this guy does something, what am I going to do? What weapons are available to me? What tactics am I going to use? And then I'm thinking, usually we don't let people just walk away from us, and as police officers, but in this situation I was like, okay, I have this guy that's bigger than me, and he doesn't fear me in any way. He's motivated, I could see that, so I'm thinking I could run up on him and stop him, physically make him stop, but then the fight would be on. And I thought, right now he's not hurting anybody, so time's on my side, so I was just going to follow him and let it play out till I get another officer there to help me. And so he continues walking up the street, and I just gave updates to dispatch as I walked.
He's not going to stop for me. He's walking northbound on 500 East from 400 South.
He was starting to get a little bit out in front of me, so I kind of started to jog to catch up to him. As I started to close the distance on him, he tried to get into an apartment building. Luckily, the building was locked and he couldn't.
Hey, come here. Just come talk to me for a minute, man.
I remember him turning and facing me, and I don't remember what he said, but I again tried to give him verbal commands.
Don't. Hey, stay right there. Get it. Sit down. Sit down. Come on. Sit down. Hey, come here, man.
Wasn't responding again, so then he blew me off and kept walking up the street. He continues walking up the street till he gets to a gas station. And in the gas station, there was a Jeep parked, I could see. As he's walking up to the Jeep, I gave another update of where we were.
211, I'm at the map. 500 east, 300 south.
I could see that he was going to get in the Jeep, and so at that point I decided I have to stop him because I could tell his mental state. He shouldn't be driving. 1, 2, the parking lot had a lot of people in it, and it's a busy time of the afternoon, so him going mobile was something that I couldn't let happen.
Don't. Hey! Get out of the car!
As I ran up to him, he was already in the car, and I could see that he was reaching for the keys. I didn't know if the keys were left in there or not, but the window was down. But as the guy's getting into the car, reaching for the keys, I could hear someone behind me come running out of the Maverick, saying, "Hey, get out of my car."
Get out of the car!
So I knew at that moment it wasn't his car. I used my taser, knowing that it probably wouldn't be that effective. I hit him through the window from only a couple feet. And in this case, I shot so close that I knew that the prongs were probably not going to be very effective on this man. It only made him mad.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get out of the car!
I gave an update real quick to say that I had deployed the taser.
211 taser deployment. Get out and get on the ground. Get out and get on the ground.
And I remember the man coming out of the car yelling at me. I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but started to come toward me. As I'm pulling out my baton, I could see an unmarked police car that I recognized as an unmarked police car pull up. And I knew that the fight was about to go on, but when I saw that police car, I remember thinking, yes, I only have to hold off for here for a second and I'm going to have some help. But man, things went so fast, and we always train that things are going to go fast, but when you're in a real life full speed situation, it goes faster than you even realize.
Let's go. My ankle rusted. Oh, damn it.
It's scary in America because we have body cameras. We tend to think that that's the whole story because it is a view and it is a real view, but it is not the full view. It's just another piece. It's a tool, and I'm all for the body camera, but you have to keep it in perspective. But what they don't pick up is what's going through an officer's mind and the officer's history with violent individuals and the officer's experience and the officer's perspective. If you have kind of a tunnel vision view of what's going on around them, but they don't pick up the sights, sounds, and smells. They don't pick up your fear. They don't pick up the way you feel that day can also affect the actions that you take or don't take. I pulled out my baton and got ready for the fight, and just as I'm swinging, he swings and hits me directly in the nose.
Let's go.
For me, it was lights out, or I should say lights on. All I could see was everything just went bright white for me. It was almost like I was looking up into the sun. And I remember just getting pummeled in the face. And I'm so grateful for the training that we have in Salt Lake and for the training that officers go through, because as I'm getting pummeled, I remember thinking, you've got to create space, which is something they always tell us in training. You got to create space. So I remember having that thought in my head, so I turned to run, and I took a couple steps, and I wanted to surprise this guy. I could tell he was still on me, and so I turned really hard and fast on my left foot. And as I pivoted, I swung, and again he connected about the same time I hit him. But right as he hit me, I could feel a pop in my left ankle and leg, and I fell and I hit the ground. It turns out that's where I broke my leg, and I lost control of my baton. I still couldn't see anything, but I remember thinking, this guy now has my baton and I'm in some serious trouble. So I don't remember getting up and running, but I remember trying to get away. Just for a second, as I was trying to get away, I had a lot of thoughts going through my head, and I remember feeling completely helpless. And I remember wanting to yell out for help, but for a split second feeling kind of ashamed that police officers shouldn't be yelling for help. The next thing I remember is I'm across the parking lot, and suddenly I can see again. My vision is back, and I can see this guy running toward my partner with the baton, and thinking, oh crap, I've got to get over there and stop him, or he's going to hurt my partner. And so I was pulling my gun to shoot, and as I'm looking downrange, I could see that there was an SUV at a gas pump behind where the suspect was standing, and so I didn't have a shot. And so I knew I had to get closer. This is happening all super fast, but these are the thoughts that were going through my head. Before I could get a shot, my partner shot several times. Just as my partner finished shooting, I saw the suspect fall to the ground. And so I went over I knew I had to get him handcuffed. And then as I'm bending down to handcuff him, I remember feeling pain in my leg, enormous pain. It hurt real bad, so I could see that he wasn't going to be going anywhere, so I stopped trying to handcuff him, and then I just kind of fell down to the ground. But I didn't want to sit by this guy, so I began crawling away from him.
Oh, damn it!
I remember all the sirens and a lot of my buddies showing up just right after it got done. After an officer involved shooting, people always say, well, why didn't you just shoot his hand, or why didn't you shoot him in the leg, or why did you have to kill him? And every situation is different. But in this situation, my partner shot 10 times, and every single one of those bullets hit this man. And he was hit in the arm, he was hit in the leg, and it didn't stop him. It wasn't until the bullet that hit his heart that made him actually stop. In the movies, it takes 1 or 2 shots, but in life, sometimes it takes 1 or 2, sometimes it takes 10 or more. I just remember sitting there being so mad. I was mad at myself for the way that everything played out. I was mad that I wasn't able to stop the situation before it escalated. I remember at the time I was really mad that I lost my baton. I'm not a mad person, but I think that day I was probably about as mad as I've ever been in my life. And a lot of it, sadly enough, was directed toward myself.
Don't. You're good. What are you mad about? All right?
This is pathetic, dude.
Hold on, you're good.
One thing that stands out to me is how fast everything happens. All you can do is train, but you can't really train for how quick all that happens. So you just have to be ready. I remember one officer running up and saying, "Hey, we've got to call Jaylyn. We've got to call Jaylyn."
Call Jaylyn, okay?
No, don't call her yet.
I remember telling her, "No, we're not going to call Jaylyn." At the time, I thought it wasn't as big of a deal as it was. I was thinking, we'll go to the hospital, get this thing checked out, and we'll go home, and that'll be the end of it. I didn't realize the seriousness of it. A lot of the witnesses that were there said that they saw me taking blows to my head. I don't remember being hit in the head, but I don't remember seeing anything either. So I don't know if I was able to dodge his swings with the baton, but there's no doubt in my mind that day I was protected. We count our blessings every day that I'm still alive.
So I'm just sitting up here doing some work. Can you guys hear my kids? They're singing downstairs for school. It's so cute. Listen. So that day at home was pretty typical. We woke up and had our monthly chiropractor appointments, and we had a homeschool helper here to help us with our kids. I was 11 weeks pregnant and still feeling very, very crummy, and I got on a business mentor call for my business, and the hubby rushed out the door. We typically say family prayers before, and I remember that day kind of being like, oh crap, we didn't say family prayers. I didn't think much of it, but it still kind of haunts me to this day. But we didn't really get to say goodbye because I was on my business mentor meeting, and as a police wife, that's something you honestly always think about, like, is that the last time I said goodbye? And so like it crossed my mind, but I kind of like pushed it away, and as I'm getting ready, my homeschool helper is helping the kids with their homeschool, and they started singing hymns. And I actually stopped and I recorded it because it was just so touching to hear their sweet little spirits singing these church songs. And right after that, I got a phone call from my husband. There was a long pause. I just thought, dispatch was talking to him or something. The first thing he said was, "I'm okay." Okay, so I'm now on high alert, because as a police wife, that's nothing you ever want to hear. The next sentence he said was, "Officer so-and-so is on her way to come pick you up." Now I'm freaking out.
I just got the worst phone call ever. Greg was hurt at work, so I'm on my way to the hospital now.
At that point I knew it was serious, because you don't get picked up from an officer unless it is serious and you're headed to the hospital. And he said, "Are you sure you're okay?" And he said, "Yes. I was just in a fight and I'm on my way to the hospital now." I'm at this point trying to not hyperventilate. We got off the phone and he texted me, "It's just my face and my ankle." And then he sent me a news link to an article that all it basically had was that there was an officer involved shooting, and 2 officers were injured. So now I'm freaking out even more. I don't know his injuries. I don't know what from. I went into where my homeschool helper was helping my kids, and I basically lost it. I was able to get the words out, and she said, "Just go, I've got the kids." A few minutes before the officer arrived to pick me up, I got a phone call from a deputy chief that he was also coming to pick me up. I remember getting to the hospital and everything being a blur. We get to his room and there's officers everywhere. And that's when I was like, holy crap, this is not just a little incident. They quickly left the room and I will never forget the look on my husband's face. Like, it was, like, his eyes said more than anything. And everybody left so that he could tell me what happened, and it was so hard to listen because he beat himself up a lot about what happened. He was kind of ashamed that he had lost his baton and that was used against him. As a wife, it was almost insulting to me that he was feeling that way about himself. And honestly, I didn't care what happened. I was just happy that he was alive. The rest of the night was a blur. We had to wait to get CT scans and make sure that he didn't have traumatic brain injury. I had multiple officers pull me aside and tell me that, you know, they're expecting something because of the witness reports and that he was hit in the head. So I was kind of on pins and needles until they did the CT scan, and when they did the CT scan and the results were good, everybody, you know, obviously breathed a sigh of relief. At that point, we knew it was a miracle, and even the doctor even said that. When we got home, my sweet little homeschool helper had, you know, been playing the piano for the kids. They were in bed at this point, and she obviously hugged us and wished us well, and she quickly left. But I remember the kids walking down. Our oldest children woke up, and I remember having to pull them aside because they didn't know what happened besides what we were able to update the homeschool helper, that Daddy would be okay, and that Daddy would heal, and that he was just in a fight. And so when they came downstairs, I pulled them aside and I said, Daddy's face is kind of beat up, so he's okay, but he is not gonna look like he did when he left for work, and just kind of prepared them for that, because at this point the left side of his face was really swollen. He had a huge blood blister under his top lip, so his top lip was swollen. He already had a black eye setting in, and he had a laceration with stitches on his nose, and then he was obviously on crutches with a boot on his leg. And it was cute to see the girls come in and ask if he was okay, and give him a hug, and go back to bed.
Get set. Go. And he's off. One thing I didn't realize is how much law enforcement really affects a family at home. For the most part, I've been good at keeping the two separate, but after this happened, you can't really keep a broken leg and a broken face separate from your family. And so after that incident, I mean, I directly brought home my work, and it definitely affected our family. My daughter Sydney gave me a good luck charm 2 weeks before this whole thing went down. I put it on my main set of keys that I carried around with me, and I know that she feels that good luck charm is part of the reason why I'm still here today. I remember Luke wanted to play baseball with me so bad, but I was so paranoid of getting hit in the face.
Oh, that was your home run, buddy.
He has begged his daddy to play baseball ever since the incident, and so
I had to wear my riot helmet from the public order unit so that I wouldn't get hit in the face.
We should also mention that being 11 weeks pregnant, I had gone to my first prenatal appointment 2 days before my husband's incident, and my midwife could not find a heartbeat, but being 11 weeks, that's not totally uncommon, and so she wanted to check back a few days later. Instead of coming that Friday, she came the following Tuesday. She searched for about 20 minutes, and she couldn't find one. So we called and got an appointment. At this point, I was so angry because I couldn't drive myself. I didn't feel safe enough to drive because of the stress, and my husband couldn't drive me because of his injuries, and he couldn't come with me because of his injuries. My sister drove about an hour and a half just to take me to my appointment. We got to the appointment, and I remember wanting to know but not wanting to know. They put the ultrasound one on, and I knew immediately that there wasn't a heartbeat. I could see that there wasn't a flutter. Not only were we dealing with the trauma of my husband, we now had lost our baby. The baby had been estimated to have died 2 days before his incident. And I remember coming home and being so angry and frustrated. But I firmly believe that there's always a blessing in our trials. And I remember telling my husband that night, I just want to know what the blessing is. I want to know why now. And it didn't take us long to realize that this baby played a bigger role in my husband's incident. And for me, I knew that he was one of the angels that protected my husband that day. Because there's no way, based on witness reports and video, that my husband wasn't hit in the head. And so I knew that that was my baby's role, was to be a guardian angel. And for me, I felt the peace that that was a way for me to identify who one of my husband's guardian angels is. You never hear lights on. When you get punched, you hear lights off, lights out, you can't see, and he saw bright white. And for me, that was very symbolic of being protected. A few weeks later, I ended up passing the baby and hemorrhaging and having to be taken by ambulance to have a DNC. I had to have surgery, but I was able to pass the baby, and as weird as it sounds, I was able to see him, and that provided a lot of healing for me and for my kids to have closure to, because this also affected them.
Recovery's been difficult mentally. We've had to get some counseling for the whole family, which I definitely recommend for anyone who needs it. Any officer out there that's struggling with anything. I know there's a lot of officers, it's in our DNA to kind of bottle it up. We're okay with helping each other, but we're not always okay with helping ourselves. And so it's important, if you're struggling with something, go see a counselor. It's been really freeing for me and for us as a family.
So even though there was obviously a lot of hardship that came as a result of that incident, there was a lot of blessings. A lot of blessings. For instance, we have
one of our favorite blessings.
They still go right here. We actually found out we were pregnant with her just about 2 months after we actually miscarried Milson. So she wouldn't exist if the outcome of that incident had been any different. So to us, it's a daily reminder of how blessed we really are to still have Greg here with us, and that things didn't end any worse than they did. So really hard to experience, but there's been a lot of growth and good things that came from it.
What's wrong, babe?
She's sad that I can't walk still.
Poor guy. Look who is walking! Just got done with the foot doctor.
is the police Purple Heart. It goes to Officer Greg Lovell.
This is only funny because that really is him trying to run. Luke likes to do it backwards. Now twirl it again. Babe!
So just remember, next time you see an officer's body cam, there's more going on in that person's life than what you're just seeing through that camera.